All right. Hi, everybody. It's a little afternoon, so I'm going to get started, and we might have some other people log on as we go. Okay. So my name is Kim, and I am a nutrition educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension's Capital Region SNAP Ed program. And my role is to help you find ways to save time, save money, and eat healthy. Today's class is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to be learning how to enjoy healthy food choices that taste great and incorporate small changes to make a healthier lifestyle using the Eat Healthy, Be Active curriculum. This is just the first one this month. I'm going to be doing this every Friday. There's 3 others that'll follow in the same curriculum. And they'll all be a lunch and learn, so you can log on every Friday at noon. You'll be surprised how easy it is to drink and eat beverages and food with less sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar, which is what we're going to talk about today. We have a couple of goals to accomplish. After this presentation, you'll be able to list small changes to drink and eat less sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar. You'll be able to identify spices, herbs, or salt-free seasonings that will give you new ways to eat healthy. And use recipe modifications and cooking techniques to reduce calories, saturated fats, sodiums, and added sugars. Sometimes when we hear the words healthy food, we think of bland, boring meals that might cost a lot. And we think we can't include our favorite meals. Well, you can enjoy healthy foods that taste great. To start, we're going to take a look at the Perez family and see how Mom Gloria, Dad Roberto, and son Juan were able to start eating healthy food without losing flavor. Like a lot of families, Gloria and her family wanted to eat healthier and decided it was time to make some changes. She began by looking at a couple of her favorite recipes. She made some changes by using less salt and sugar and choosing healthier fats. So let's look at her story. Plain and simple, we knew we wanted to find ways to eat healthier. I modified my favorite recipes by using less salt and sugar and choosing healthy fats. I made small changes, such as taking the skin off my chicken. And then instead of deep frying, I bake it in the oven with herbs and a little olive oil. Okay, I'm going to pull up my chat, and you guys go ahead and put in the chat box anything that stood out to you as far as what changes she made to make the meal a little bit healthier. Baking instead of deep frying, yep. Using less salt and sugar. No skin, right? Baking versus frying. Herbs, that's one of my favorite tips for sure. Choosing healthy fats, like the olive oil, right? Instead of deep frying it. Okay, so she made changes to pick healthier fats and still kept the flavor. She took the skin off the chicken. She also baked instead of frying and used healthy olive oil. All of those you guys picked up on. And these small changes add up and are so much better for their health. Roberto realized that despite the changes, Gloria's cooking still tastes great. They found out that eating healthy doesn't have to mean bland. So let's read what he has to say. Gloria's cooking still tastes great. We found out that eating healthy doesn't mean bland. We still use chilies, cilantro, lime, lots of garlic, and other spices to flavor our food. So there you go. I know someone mentioned the herbs too. That is one of my favorite tips. And I should have everybody's email address, and part of the handouts that you're going to get with this has different herb blends too to play around with. And using those herbs is how you lower the salt, but not the taste too. To involve their son in the process, each week, Juan and his mom would pick out a new fruit or vegetable for their family to try. And last night they added kiwi. So Juan says, each week, my mom and I pick a new fruit or vegetable for our family. Last night we tried kiwi and some almonds to our salad, and it was very good. So you see they added the kiwi. Oop, hit that too soon. They added the kiwi to add some flavor and add some fruit into the meal too. Roberto and Gloria figured out that when they included Juan in helping with dinner, that he would at least try the fruit or vegetable that he picked. They take their lead from you. So let them see you pick fruits and vegetables instead of salty and sweet snacks, and get them involved in some of the meal planning. Their story shows you how making small changes can make a big difference. Here are some other changes the Perez family made. When it comes to picking healthy fats and keeping the flavor, they wanted to switch from frying in butter and margarine or lard or shortenings. So they chose to bake the chicken without the skin and used healthier olive oil for some flavor. They also didn't want to lose the taste, but they did want to lower salt. So instead of adding salt to foods for flavor, they used herbs and spices. To lower sugar and still satisfy their sweet tooth, instead of eating sweets, they swapped that out for a piece of fruit. Now, think about what changes you could make. If you have some of the worksheets, which I will send out at the end, you can check them off and set goals for yourself. Whatever you choose to try, these are all great ways to drink and eat beverages and food with less sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar. My Plate is a good place to start making healthier choices. So let's take a look. Using My Plate is a great way to limit extras that have added sodium, saturated fat, and added sugars. It's a visual reminder of a healthy eating plan. When you focus on whole fruits, you can avoid added sugar that might be in canned fruits. A lot of times, fruit is packed in syrup, which adds extra calories. When choosing veggies, try to vary the color and form. Fresh, frozen, and canned can give you the same nutrients, but look for cans with no salt added or plain frozen vegetables to help reduce the sodium. If you like dairy, switch to fat-free or low-fat options. They have the same amount of calcium, but not the saturated fat. We can also limit added sugar by staying away from flavored milks and reading the labels on yogurt. Instead of reaching out for a sugary cereal with loads of added sugar and calories, make at least half of your grains whole grains. Choose whole grain cereals like oatmeal and add some fresh or frozen fruit. And you want to vary your protein routine and choose fish, chicken, turkey, and beans. This can help you cut back on fat that is found in beef, pork, and processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, and sausage. Many of us probably know that choosing these foods more often are better for us, but we all love foods that taste delicious. It makes us happy. It brings us back to big family gatherings or fun outings with friends. And there are a lot of reasons that Americans tend to choose foods that are higher in fat, sodium, and added sugar. So let's see how a group chooses what to do. Do you guys prefer healthy or do you prefer tasty? And go ahead and share that in the chat box. Both, yep, tasty. Healthy and tasty. Some just go for tasty. Nobody just goes for healthy, right? All right, we're gonna take a look here. Oop, I saw one more pop in. Yeah, both. Both would be ideal. Yep. Okay. We're gonna watch a quick video. Give me just a second to share the sound here. There it is. Okay.
Food should be healthy.
Food has to taste good.
Healthy.
Tasty.
Healthy.
Tasty.
So who says
You can't have both? Yes, foods can be both healthy and tasty. Leslie and I have found ways of keeping all the flavor in foods while still eating healthy.
Yes, instead of buying processed meats like cold cuts or hot dogs.
Loaded with salt. We're making more meals from scratch using lean meats and spiced with herbs. We use fresh or frozen veggies or canned vegetables with no sodium added. We've lowered the salt,
but not the taste.
To cut back on sugar, we replace soft drinks with water or unsweetened iced tea, flavored with lemon.
Thanks, Russell. Again, that's no sugar, but plenty of taste, and no extra calories either.
Oh, sorry about that. We don't need to watch all that over again.
And I have found ways of keeping all the flavor in foods while still eating healthy.
Yes, instead of buying processed meats like cold cuts or hot dogs.
Loaded with salt. We're making more meals from scratch using lean meats and spiced with herbs. We use fresh or frozen veggies or canned vegetables with no sodium added. We've lowered the salt,
but not the taste.
To cut back on sugar, we replace soft drinks with water or unsweetened iced tea, flavored with lemon.
Thanks, Russell. Again, that's no sugar, but plenty of taste, and no extra calories either.
Dessert, a piece of fresh fruit, and my sweet tooth is happy. And I actually prefer it to sugary cookies and pies.
What did you say?
Nothing, honey.
Maybe the biggest change was choosing healthier fats.
Now, we stir fry, broil, bake, and grill lean meats. We add flavor to our fish with herbs, veggies, and a bit of healthy oil like olive or canola. So we brush on the oil, add the tomatoes, the green peppers, the onions, and sprinkle on the herbs.
Pop it in the oven, easy and delicious.
Now, I never thought I'd say this, but eating healthy does not mean losing flavor. If I can do it, you can too.
For more information, go to www.health.gov/dietary guidelines. This presentation was
All right.
brought to you by
Oops, I seem to be stuck in this. Hold on. Give me just a second. Okay, there we go. So they mentioned some cooking techniques like baking, broiling, or grilling, or maybe even using an air fryer, which can cut out unhealthy fat instead of frying. Which of these healthy techniques have you tried before? Is there anything that you guys use regularly? Oh, air fryer. Yes, I have an air fryer too. I actually just got it and it was a great purchase. baking, but mostly air frying, coconut oil. Coconut oil does have the saturated fat, but it's got a lot of good benefits to it too. Instant Pot, my Instant Pot I use all the time. Baking and grilling, yep. More grilling, yeah. You guys like your air fryers too, I love it. To make some of the changes they mentioned, they needed to know what was in the foods they were choosing. So they use foods. Oops. The nutrition fact label gives you information you need to make healthy choices. It's found on almost all food and beverage packages. It's a great tool you can use to compare and choose foods. What's great about all those examples is you can make the label work for you. The food label has a lot of information, but all of those numbers and percentages can be overwhelming. Let's explore it today and discover a simple way to use the nutrition facts label. First, we'll start at the top of the label. There you see serving size and the number of servings per container. Servings per container shows the total number of servings in the entire package. And this package has 8 servings. Serving size is based on the amount of food that is typically eaten at one time. In this case, we're looking at 2/3 of a cup as a serving. The calorie and nutrient information is usually based on 1 serving of food. Calories refer to the total number of calories or energy in a serving of food. We get most of our energy from carbohydrate, fat, and protein. To achieve or maintain a healthy body weight, you should balance the number of calories. The daily values are reference amounts of how much a nutrient to consume or not to exceed each day. It might be in grams, milligrams, or micrograms. These recommendations are based on a 2,000 calorie diet. The percent daily value column shows how much of that nutrient is in 1 serving and what it contributes to the total daily recommendations. For example, we should aim for 100% fiber, which helps us lower cholesterol levels. 1 serving of this food has 14% of the fiber needed for 1 day. Throughout the rest of your food choices, you want to get 86%. So your total for the day will add up to 100%. You also can use the daily value to determine if serving is high or low in an individual nutrient. So we're going to look at another quick video here.
These updates to the percent daily value for nutrients are definitely
on trend. Absolutely. The percent daily value shows how much a nutrient in a serving of food contributes to a total daily diet.
So the percent daily value can show me if a food is high or low in nutrients?
Yep. Just remember, 5% or less of the daily value for a nutrient is considered low, and 20% or more of the daily value is considered high.
This is going to fly off the shelves.
So that percent daily value is a really great thing to use when you're reading labels. I like to especially read that with like snacks, because your snacks you tend to just grab for maybe like chips and things like that. But if you're looking at those daily values and looking for things that are high in the vitamins and minerals, then you're going to be reaching for healthier snacks. When we look at nutrients, we can use the 5-20 rule. As we just saw, 5% daily value or less of a nutrient is considered low, and 20% daily value or more of a nutrient is considered high. Use the label to support your personal dietary needs and choose foods that contain more of the nutrients you want to get and less of the nutrients you may want to limit. More often, choose foods that are higher in fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. And choose foods that are lower in saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar. Choosing healthier foods and beverages can help reduce the risk of developing some health conditions such as high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, and anemia. Okay, let's do a quick review of high and low using this label. I'm going to read through some nutrients and determine if the daily value is high or if it's low. I think something got messed up on that slide. Sorry about that. So the nutrients to eat less of, we need to look at that. That is important. It's the saturated fat, and those are highlighted there. The saturated fat, the added sugars, and the sodium. So let's talk about saturated fats. We'll start here because it's in a variety of foods such as fast foods, whole milk, cheese, beef, nuts, processed meats, and desserts like ice cream, brownies, and cakes. The food labels are required to show total fat, saturated fat, and trans fat. You might also see unsaturated fats listed, but they're not required to be on the food label. Saturated and trans fats are the fats that we need to limit because they can increase cholesterol levels, which can lead to heart disease. Your heart pumps blood through your body using arteries. When we eat saturated fats, our body builds up plaque on the artery walls, which you can see in yellow. This makes it harder for blood to flow through the arteries, which can lead to a complete blockage, causing a heart attack or a stroke. The dark spot you see is damage to the heart muscle, which makes it less efficient. Most Americans eat more than the recommended limits, consume less than 10% of calories from saturated fats, which is less than 20 grams per day. This label shows just 1 gram of saturated fat, which is 5% daily value, so it's low in saturated fat. Let's take a look at some of the changes you can make to pick healthy fats and still keep flavor. If you have, or instead of choosing healthier or choosing fattier cuts of meat, you can remove the skin off the chicken like we talked about before cooking. Right under the skin is where you find the majority of the fat in the chicken. A skinless chicken breast is a great low-fat protein source. You can also choose other lean protein sources by looking for ground meat that is at least 92% lean and 8% fat. And usually you can see that. It'll say like the 92 or 95, 98, I see sometimes. So look for that on the label. And look for the word loin. So anything that is a sirloin, a tenderloin, round steaks, roast, these cuts tend to be lower in fat. Also try 97 or 99% lean ground turkey or chicken in place of beef. More and more packages of meat have a nutrition fact label included, so you can always compare labels at the store to select meat with less saturated fat. Whole milk has 5 grams of saturated fat, which is 25% of the daily value, which we know, if you guys remember, is at high or low if it's 25%. Right, it's high. Yep, thanks, Sarah. Remember, 5% or less is low and 20% or more is high. So 25% is high. And since saturated fat is something we want to limit, we want it to be less than 5%. Now, when we look at the fat-free milk, it has 0% saturated fat. Plus, it has the same amount of nutrients like calcium, protein, and vitamin D. This is a great example of how to use a label to compare two options. In this example, if you choose fat-free milk instead of whole milk, you cut out 5 grams of saturated fat. And if you're used to whole milk, a great way to make a switch is to slowly decrease the amount or do half and half. So if you have skim and whole milk, and then make that change slowly so you can get used to the flavor. Between choosing lean cuts of meat, removing the skin from chicken, baking, broiling, and air frying instead of frying, and choosing lower fat milk, we have a lot of options to choose foods with less saturated fat. Next, let's talk about sodium. Sodium is found in a variety of foods such as processed foods like pizza and frozen meals, hot dogs, deli meats, and cheeses, snack foods like pretzels and chips, and we can't forget the salt shaker. It's also found in canned foods too. Sodium is listed in milligrams on the food label. Using the percent daily value column can make it easier to make low sodium choices. Just remember to aim for 5% or less. The health risk of consuming too much sodium include increased risk of developing high blood pressure and cardiovascular or heart disease. Most Americans exceed the recommended limits. The average adult should limit sodium intake to 2,000 milligrams per day. If you have hypertension or prehypertension, you should limit sodium to 1,500. Take a look at the label and this one contributes 700 milligrams in just one slice of pizza. So you can see that can add up pretty quickly throughout the day if you're not reading the labels and paying attention. One tip is instead of eating frozen or delivery pizza, which we saw has 30% of the daily value for sodium, you can make a veggie pizza at home using fresh vegetables, a small amount of cheese instead of a lot of cheese, and no salt added tomato sauce. You can just add some herbs to canned tomatoes and make your own sauce. That's going to be really good. Making mini pizzas is great because everyone can choose their own toppings. Just be sure to choose veggies instead of processed meats like pepperoni and sausage. I like to do those personal pizzas. We do that every now and then in my house, and my kids love it because they can pick out all the different toppings and they get to make their own pizza. And when you make it yourself, you can choose exactly what you want, even if it's pineapple. Spices can help add flavor to your meal, but many spices or spice mixes like adobo, like this adobo or a taco seasoning have salt in the mix. So let's just look at a typical adobo mix. One serving, which is a quarter teaspoon, it's a very little, has 360 milligrams of sodium. Instead, you can make your own without salt. And you can try this one. If you guys want to take a screenshot or take a picture with your phone, but I'm also going to be emailing out a whole bunch of different spices that you can put together for these different mixes so you can reduce sodium. Now, lastly, we want to limit added sugar. So just like it sounds, added sugars aren't in foods naturally, they're added in. So like a fruit has regular sugar that's in it, but added sugars are that sugar that you find on your tabletop at a restaurant in the little packets, or what you're putting in cookies when you're baking. So these include sugars and syrups that food manufacturers add to products like sodas, yogurt, candies, cereals, and cookies. It's in everything. So that's another reason that's really important to read labels. And then remember the sugar that you add yourself to things like coffee, right? And some foods have that sugar naturally, like I talked about, like fruits or vegetables and milk. We're going to be concentrating on that added sugar. Added sugars were recently added as a separate line on the food label. This makes it much easier to see how much is added to the food during processing. So for example, just think of like applesauce, right? Applesauce is going to have regular sugar that's already in the apples, or I shouldn't say regular, natural sugar that's going to be in the apples. But there's going to be a separate line that says added sugar. So you can see how much sugar they're actually adding into it in addition to the sugar that occurs naturally in the apple. So that line is something that's important to look for. Many foods with added sugars have little nutritional value too, and they're higher in calories. This contributes to an increased risk of chronic disease and obesity, and it also causes cavities. You want to limit calories from added sugars to no more than 10% each day. That's 200 calories or 50 grams of added sugar for a 2,000 calorie diet. That's the same as eating 12 teaspoons of sugar too in a day. But it's often hidden in the food, so you don't know that. It's not, you're not consuming 12 teaspoons straight, but it's hidden into your food. You can see this label has 10 grams of added sugar, which contributes 20% of the daily maximum. but you can lower sugar and still satisfy your sweet tooth. Soda is a beverage that is full of added sugar. You can drink water instead of sugar sweetened beverages like regular soda. Sports drinks also have a lot of sugar. Juice drinks do. One 20-ounce bottle of soda has 16 teaspoons of added sugar. That's more than a daily limit in just one drink. And earlier, we talked about replacing large portions of dessert with a piece of fruit. You could split it into a smaller portion too if you're like, if you have some cake or pie or something like that, but eat a smaller slice of it for the night. When it comes to cereal, there are a lot of options and many of them tout health benefits, but there may be hidden sugar too. Even a honey nut cereal, which is a good source of fiber, has a lot of added sugar. Just 1 cup has 12 grams of sugar, which is 24% in 1 cup. And that's 3 teaspoons of sugar that's added into there. Instead, you could go with a cereal with a low amount of added sugar. Remember, you were looking for 5% or less when it comes to sugar. This cereal has 2 grams of added sugar, which is just a half a teaspoon, but it also has the fiber too. And then you add the fruit, that's going to add some fiber, and it's naturally going to sweeten it up. And those small changes, like that's the switch in the cereal, can make a big difference. And whatever sweet food you're looking at, you can use the food label to check out how much added sugar is included. Now that we've talked more in depth about the food label and what to limit, is there anything that you guys can see making a change right now? Something that you could do tomorrow? I like to say small changes. So if there are some changes that you're going to make, just think of like 1 or 2 that stand out to you and share that in the chat box if you're feeling it. Stop drinking sodas. Yep. Roasting veggies. And olive oil. Yep. Spoonful of ice cream, not a pint. Yeah, that's so hard, right? Don't eat it right out of the container. Put it in a dish. That's one way to do that. Changing cereal can be a great one. Yep. When next time you go to the market, and it's crazy how many cereals are available to us, and read all those labels, like almost all of them are loaded with sugar. So if you read those labels, it can make a difference. And adding more vegetables. Yep. Because vegetables are high in fiber and they help fill you up. Yeah, I like Fairlife milk too. I get that. And grilling more. Okay. You guys have some great ideas there. Remember using food label and making some of these small changes that we're talking about. You want to drink and eat beverages and food with less sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar. So let's just apply it to a recipe here. All right, here's a simple lasagna recipe that you can find at like myplate.gov or other different websites. Lasagna you can find just about anywhere, right? So we're going to do some ingredient swaps. All right, I'm going to pull my chat box back up here. Go ahead, read through what you see there and tell me ideas that you have that you could swap some things out to make a difference, to make it a little bit healthier. Yep, lean ground beef. Make sure you're reading the labels to be at least over 92, 95, 99, or even better. Make your own sauce, right? A lot of tomato sauce has got a ton of sugar in it, so making your own sauce would definitely make a big difference. And you guys will see too, if you stick with me, that we're gonna talk about making your own sauce. We're gonna take everything we talked about today and start to apply it. Low carb noodles, low fat dairy. Cottage cheese or ricotta cottage cheese is going to have more protein in it. So that's a good thing. but both of them, you just want to watch the labels to see if they're 2% or 1% or skim, because if it's full fat, it's still going to have lots of saturated fat in it. But you guys all, I think you got all of them in there. You had some good examples. I would even add a couple more veggies in there too, like maybe some zucchini or something like that to add the vegetables on. So whole wheat pasta, I think someone said low carb pasta, but whole wheat pasta is one thing to do that would increase the fiber in this dish. Using lean ground turkey and choosing lower fat cheeses like we talked about. And then to reduce sodium, you can compare labels of different tomato sauces to pick the one with the least amount of sodium. Another way to reduce sodium is to reduce and replace the salt with seasoning mix for flavor. So you could just put like a pinch of salt in for that flavor. I always like to put a pinch of salt in. I don't get rid of it altogether, but put lots of Italian seasoning in it, or some basil. Cracked black pepper in tomato sauce to go with that ground meat would be really good. So think of things like that. Let's see, there's a couple more things. We use mushrooms with ground beef to add more bulk and cut back on the beef. Oh, that's a great suggestion. I like that. And spinach in the ricotta. Yes, I've done that one too. Yeah, great ideas, guys. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So now we're going to talk physical activity, because we have to put that together with the reduction of the saturated fat, sodium, and sugar. Physical activity guidelines for Americans recommends that everyone engage in regular physical activity for health benefits. Moderate activities are things like walking briskly, biking on flat ground, dancing, and gardening. You can tell if an activity is moderate for you based on how you feel when you're doing it. You should notice that your heart rate increases slightly, that you're breathing faster, and you may even break a sweat. Examples of vigorous activity include jumping rope, basketball, soccer, swimming laps, aerobic dance. Vigorous activities will make your heart rate increase much faster, and you're going to have a hard time talking because you can't breathe, because your breathing is going to be increased. In general, 2 minutes of moderate activity is equal to 1 minute of vigorous activity. So that's just something to keep in mind if you decide to do both. If you're going to do all moderate activity, aim to be active for a total of 2.5 hours per week. That's like exercising 5 days a week for 30 minutes. To make it work, it helps to actually set an appointment with yourself to be active. Pick times and days that work for you and put it on your calendar. It can seem like a lot, but there are some easy ways to fit it in. For example, in the middle, when I'm done with this class, I'm going to take my dogs out for a 15-minute walk. So that's 15 minutes to that 30 minutes that I'm aiming for each day. And I have that planned right in my calendar for my work day. Like reducing screen time, think about how much time you spend on your screen during the day. And for most people, it's a lot. So think about replacing 30 minutes of screen time with activity. And I'm sure you could pick at least one show. There's so many of them to stream that you could probably cut out, right? Or switch the TV over to music station and dance, because dancing can get your heart rate up too. And the last tip is to make commercial breaks active. Instead of fast forwarding or hitting the skip button to let them play and then do your movement during the breaks. If you have the room, you can place a towel down or a yoga mat somewhere in the front of your television and do some crunches or push-ups or a plank. There's lots of small changes that you can make, and those can add up quick. So you want to have at least 10 minutes at a time is what we suggest, but you can break those 10 minutes up throughout the day. And just do that 3 times a day, or even 4 times a day would be better, and slowly work that time in throughout the day so that you're reaching your goals. Being active along with drinking beverages and eating foods with less saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars can help reduce your risk of developing cholesterol, heart disease, and obesity. And small changes can make a big difference. So let's focus on setting some goals. To reduce fat, we talked about healthy cooking techniques and choosing lower fat options like fat-free milk. Making your own meals at home, like pizza or lasagna, can help reduce sodium. And comparing the nutrition fact labels on foods like cereal and beverages can help reduce sugar. We also talked about using spices to make your meals more flavorful without adding salt, and how modifying a couple of ingredients in a favorite recipe can give you a healthy and tasty meal. Remember, every bite counts, so take a minute to think about which of these changes you could make this week. And if anybody wants to share changes that they plan on doing, go ahead and share that in the chat box. I right now am gonna leave this area. So I have a quick cooking demo that I can show you guys too. If you guys have any other ideas that you want to share with each other that you can do, go ahead and do that. This will just take a minute. Okay. Let's see what we've got in here. Move more and add spices. Yes. I love the spices. Move more. Yes, please do. We could all do that. And the weather's getting better. So this is a great time to set that goal to move a little more every day. All right. I am going to share a new screen with you guys now. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. And this is for butternut squash and collards.
This is a SnapEd New York video presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim with Cornell Cooperative Extension. I work with our SnapEd program. We all know that it's important to vary our veggies, but it's easy to get stuck in a rut, eating the same things all the time because life is busy and we know what we like. I find that during the holiday season, it gives me a great excuse to try some new things out. I want to spice up our holiday menu. So today I'm going to put together a side dish of butternut squash and collard greens. It's going to be a side dish full of vitamins and minerals and new flavors for me because I don't have a lot of experience with collard greens.
Here's what you'll need. 1 butternut squash, 1 bunch of collard greens, 1 medium onion, 1 red pepper, 1 clove of garlic, and some salt and pepper. Be sure to have your sharp knife, vegetable peeler, and cutting board ready to go. Before we start, wash your hands thoroughly for 20 seconds and run all the vegetables under cool running water to rinse them off.
To get us started, I'm going to walk you through the tricky business of how to peel and chop a butternut squash.
Cut the end of the squash off and then peel it. Cut the bulb from the neck and then cut the neck in half. Start chopping into cubes.
Butternut squash is in season during the fall. It's a great way to incorporate orange vegetables into your rotation bringing loads of vitamin C to help boost immunity, and potassium, a mineral that every cell in your body needs.
Cut the bulb in half and clear out the seeds. Now you can cut that into cubes. I used to buy pre-cut squash because I thought it was too difficult to cut through uncooked squash. But there's no need to pay extra for that convenience cost. You just need the right technique and a sharp knife.
Most people do not get enough leafy greens, even though there are a wide variety of them and they can be prepared in different ways to keep things interesting.
Collards are big leafy greens packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. The stem is thick and bitter for my taste, so I cut that out. Once you have the stems removed, you can roll the leaves together and cut it into strips.
The high fiber content of collards benefits digestion, helping to ensure your body absorbs the vitamins and minerals in the meal and helps reduce the risk of certain diseases like colon cancer. They're also high in vitamin A, which, among other things, is great for your skin and hair.
Cut the onion in half so you can work with a smooth surface to dice it up. Lay the flat side down so it isn't rolling around. Cut the end off, but keep this end so that once you start slicing, it all stays together. Peel it back and start slicing. For peppers, start at the top of the pepper and slice down around the white part. Place the pepper skin side down and start slicing it up. Notice throughout all of this, my hand that is not holding the knife is curled up like a claw, and I'm slicing down in front of the fingers to keep them safe.
Look at all those beautiful colors. We're ready to cook them up.
This is so colorful with the yellow squash, and red peppers, and green collards. And the more colors you have in your dish, the more nutrients you're getting, because all those different color profiles have different nutrients. So when you vary your veggies and eat the rainbow, you're maximizing the nutrients you're getting from your food.
This colorful dish is low in calories, high in fiber, a good source of calcium and potassium, and vitamins A and C. Altogether, I paid $6.61. That's just $1.65 per serving. You can save even more money if you buy the peppers and onions in bulk, or check the frozen aisle if the vegetables are not in season.
Now I get to dive in. This is my favorite part. But before I do, I'm going to put a little crushed red on there to spice it up a bit. Let's have a taste. So delicious. What a pleasurable way to make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. All you need to do is pair this up with some brown rice and chicken, or maybe a roast. If you prefer vegetarian, maybe add some beans to it. I'm definitely adding collard greens to my menu more often. I really like all of the nutrients in it, and the taste and the texture of them are great in this dish. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did.
Don't forget to check out snapedny.org for more tips, tricks, and recipes so we can help you save time, save money, and eat healthy.
Thank you for.
All right. I saw someone asked what kind of broth was used. So I make my own broth, which is actually the video that I was going to show next week. And I'll show you how to do it, but I'll explain it real quick. When I peel onions and I peel garlic, when I have herbs that are starting to wilt, but they haven't really spoiled yet, I put it all into a big freezer bag. And once I have a full freezer bag, I actually have one, I'll show you guys. So when I have a full freezer bag like this one, I will put this into a pot of boiling water with some herbs and salt and pepper, and that's how I get my vegetable broth. And then I freeze it and then into individual squares so that I can just pull it out and have it anytime. So that is the kind of broth that went in. But a regular vegetable broth would work too. You can't see my screen. Okay, sorry. I think I have to stop sharing. Okay, you guys able to see me now? Can you see that? If you put it in speaker view, you should be able to see me. All right, yeah, so that's what it looks like. It might be hard to see with the glare from the light, but there's like onion peels and carrot peels and things like that in there. This is the bottom of like celery right there. So yeah, anything that you think you're going to throw away, just keep it, stick it in a freezer bag. The only thing I don't suggest is usually like cabbage. So like broccoli and cabbage, things like that can have a strong taste in the broth. But is a great way to cut down on waste, and it's also a great way to save money too. I always have broth in my freezer. Let's see. Do you recommend red onion for this? Any kind of onion would be fine. I think I just had red onion and that's why I used it. But if you had a yellow onion, that would work too. All right. Did I get everybody's questions? Yes. Does anybody else have any other questions for me before we go? This is the end for today. Next week is going to be eating healthy on a budget. And like I said, I'm going to show you the video on how I make the broth too. You're welcome. And I'll be sending out, I forgot to put a poll in here. I have some paperwork I'm supposed to fill out for every class. So I'll be sending out a survey for you guys to fill out for me. If you do that, that helps us to continue to do these online classes. So look for that in your email address and just please fill that out for me. And hopefully I get to see you guys all next week. Great. You're welcome. I'm going to share, if you want to copy and paste this, snapedny.org. You can go there. There's all kinds of cooking demos like the one you just saw on there and recipes. And if anybody has any questions, you can email me there. I'll leave it up for just another minute here so you guys can copy and paste those. But thanks for stepping in. Bye, everybody. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Thanks, Sarah. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Thanks. I'm glad you got a lot of people to come join in. All right. Bye, everybody.